Alright, so if you remember from the last video, we roughed in a couple outlets, we got a switch up. Now what we got to do is cut it all into the main panel. So, the only thing I don't have, well, two things I have here that aren't correct. One, this is a main lug panel. This is just what I had in the shop. It's actually kind of a pain in the ass trying to find a panel, even at running to Home Depot. It's impossible. Also, they sent me the wrong connector. So this is an 1.5" connector. I've got a ton of 1.25" parts, which would be the right size. This is 1.5". You want 1.25". So besides that, we're just going to pretend that that's a main breaker. It's got 2 lugs, same deal. So first thing we're going to want to do is cut our service entrance cable. Right, I like my Hawkbill knife. That helps. Okay, right down the center. It doesn't take much, nice and light, but not too light. Okay, then we're going to peel it back. Now if I had 4 wire and this was a sub panel, that would be correct. But I don't. So, okay, now what we're going to do is real carefully cut that jacket away. Just real carefully. It's another reason why I like the Hawkbill. A nice curve. Okay, should be good. Lift this up, pull down. No, alright, well, we got that part, but no. Gotta get the fiber. Okay. So just like that. Now we're going to unwind. This is going to be our neutral conductor. Right? Because this is a main panel, your main service entrance, neutrals and grounds do go together. And I'm also going to reuse this panel. So, I got a bunch of work to do in this shop to get it more efficient for YouTube videos. Going to do a lot of testing, panel building, load bank testing, product testing. Okay, so I'm just going to swing this around. This is my neutral bar. And you'll notice I do have it bonded. Can you see it? Yeah. I have my bonding strap in. Okay. Right about there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a piece of tape. Okay. Right about where I want it. Grab a piece of tape here. Basically that marks it where I can cut it. And then I'll do another one on the bottom. Okay. And then we're going to cut it. Got my little lobbers over here. These things are incredibly handy. Temco. I actually got them on Amazon. I used these for a long time, just cutting SO, well, any rubberized cable assembly, because it is super handy. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is cut just above the tape. Just above the tape. Now you'll see why I taped it. I don't have to pick up a million strands. Okay. Now the next step would be to put on Deox. I'm not going to put Deox on because I'm not going to energize this panel, and I have to reuse this panel, so I don't really want it all gunked up. But when you're using Deox, you got to get it into the threads, okay? In between the strands, go with the grain, okay? And then put a nice glob inside of your lug. Use your finger to push it in, rub it in. Use a damn toothbrush, don't really matter. But you want it in there nice. And always to what the manufacturer recommends. So let's tighten down the neutral. Might be time for me to upgrade some screwdrivers. I've had these probably 20 years. At least 20 years. Pretty beat up. But they're good screwdrivers, I like them. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is our EGCs, our grounding conductor. Right, so whether it's a loop, a ground rod loop, where you had to put in 2 ground rods and loop it back, or you have a cold water ground and a ground rod. I like to put my grounds up at the top, okay? So this one, I pulled it in just to the right size, so that'd be good. Get my knife. Cut it a little bit bigger than the ground bar. Okay. And then, always wear gloves when you're doing this. And don't cut towards yourself. I don't know why people still do that. It drives me insane. Worked with a guy that, I don't know what the hell he was thinking. He cut his hand from here all the way up to that bone. Just deep. Blood all over the customer's floor. Not to mention his hand. All you do is go the other way and it wouldn't happen. Oh. I think I just cut the wrong wire. Yeah, I did. I cut the wrong wire. So, alright. We're going to get our lobbers out. We're going to cut it down. Okay. Now we're going to restrip it because I made a boo-boo. Human, it happens. Just because it's YouTube doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. Or that it's going to get done perfectly like a robot. Things happen. Inspections fail. But it is always a reason to learn. As an electrician, you will never stop learning. There's no reason to stop learning. Code cycles change. Sometimes they change drastically. Even just going from 2008. I took a lot of classes trying to get adapted to the new code cycle. We went from 2008 to 17. There was no in between. Maybe a couple months of 11. That was it. And that was a tough transition. Alright, so before my SD card got full, we landed this one EGC. So I'm just going to take green tape and mark it. And that'll be for whatever reason this were to get a service upgrade down the road. Whatever reason. That way it's identified. So we're going to put that in there. I like to have all my bigger wires right into that corner. Okay. Grab my screwdriver. We're going to tighten that up. Then we're going to do the same for this one. Okay, so my knife. Like to do about 3/4 of my thumbnail. Tends to be close to the sweet spot. Okay, there's that one. You notice how I have my little pouch hanging here? I highly recommend that. Don't be like how I normally am and have to go running across everywhere because I can't find something. So, being organized. Okay. Green tape. Now I'm going to put this one on the top. Doesn't really matter at all. I just like to keep them together and out of the way. Okay. Okay, now, the two wires that came out of your service cable, right? One of them has red stripes on it. That's your identifier. One of them does not. So you have a black and a red. That's your 240. Okay, now I am fed from the top. So absolutely regardless, I put in a drip loop. Okay, anytime I'm fed from the top, I put in a drip loop. So we're going to create, let's get this neutral wire back here a little farther. I'm just going to create just a little loop, and what that's going to do is if there ever were to be something to drip in that connector, what it's going to do is follow the path of the wire and drip out. Right? It'll fall down probably here or here. It won't go on top of the buswork. So now, measure my wire, put my thumb on it right about where I want it, grab my lobbers. You can use smaller cable cutters if you want to. I'm getting old, so I don't particularly like little cutters. Okay? So now I'm going to do the same thing to this. Make it about the same size so it's nice and neat. Right there. Open these up. Cut. Take that. Normally I would have the box the panel came in sitting right here, put all my garbage into it, but like I said before, I've used this panel a few times. I still have more use for it. So that box is long gone. I'm gonna grab my knife. See, it's about 3/4 of my thumbnail. I'll go a little bit bigger just because it is the main. Okay. Go around and then slice it straight down. That's why I like the hawkbill. And then you can just peel it off. Right? So, thumbnail. Be careful not to cut your fingers off. Been doing this a very long time. Wear gloves. Straight down. And then peel it off. Okay? Now normally you take your deox, your anti-ox, whatever, Noalox as Ideal calls it. Take it in there, get it in there real good. You can use your finger and push it in between, right? Or like I said earlier, carry a crappy toothbrush with you. I actually have one over here, right? My little Batman toothbrush. It was like $1. Yeah, so you can just get it in there, right? And then fill the lugs up. Put some in there. Don't make it disgusting and get it all over the place, but definitely put it in there. Okay, so now we're going to land these wires in the lugs. You want to make sure that your conductor has full coverage inside the lug, right? You really don't want your insulation inside. Okay, because that's going to be a crappy connection. And you don't want to cut back too much to where you're going to fry yourself either. So right in the middle. I'm going to grab my handy dandy 20-year-old screwdriver. I'm going to tighten it down. Okay. Tightened it down. Give it a good wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Make sure it's not going to fall off. Okay, now what I'm going to do, loosen it up a little bit. And I'm going to push it down a little bit more. Because I'm sure, as you can tell, it worked its way up a little bit when you tighten down the lug. Okay? So, same thing. Same thing on this side. Okay. It looks pretty decent. Everything is out of the way. Alright, so now we're going to move to our Romex. Now with Romex, remember in the previous video I said to at least have the amount of your panel box. Okay, and we're going to kind of see why right now. Oh, I got to tighten this clamp down a little bit more, I think. All of your service equipment will be a number 2 Robertson. Or a square tip. For those that don't know, the square tip is called a Robertson. Okay. So we got that tightened down pretty decent. Now these Romex connectors here, they only call for 2 12-2s. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut right down the center, or use your Romex strippers. I should have ran and got some today. Right up to the label. Don't cut the label. Okay. I'm sure you can guess why. Or if you watched the previous video, you probably already know why, because we did the same thing on the switch leg. Okay. Get these up out of the way. We have our 1/4 inch. Okay, now I'm going to take the hot, grab my label. Okay, outlets Hall. I'm going to cut it off. You can see, cut it off. There you go. Now, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to curve the tip on it. Okay. Let me move this camera back. Maybe you can see a little better. Okay. Alright, so next thing I want to do is measure up my ground and my neutral. I'm going to take the ground first. I like to bring it to the back of the panel and then work it around. And what I'll do is start at the bottom. And we're going to put it in. Okay? We're going to clamp it down. Now these lugs here are not rated for more than 1 wire. Some of them are. Some breakers are rated to have 2 wires on them. I believe one of them is a Square D QO. Alright, so now just above that, I'm going to put the neutral in. Figure out just as much to strip it. Okay. Now we got that. I got my wires worked the same way as the ground. Okay. Now, as always, I have my screwdriver way out of the way instead of back in my pouch. Okay, now we're going to land that. The wires should always be neat. Okay. Now we're going to leave this. I'm just going to tuck it right there. I'm going to take my knife and we're going to strip this one. Okay, I'm going to cut my label off. I'm going to immediately put it on the wire. I'm going to hook it and I'm going to get it out of the way. Now what do you think's going to come next? Neutrals and grounds, right? Neutrals and ground. So I'm going to take my ground first. Push it to the back of the panel. I'm going to go right above that neutral. Grab my strippers from way off yonder. Okay, now I'm going to take that and push it back. Same thing with the neutral. I'm going to go right above that ground. And you want to try to do your best as to not get everything tangled up either. You don't want them intertwined. Okay, so we're going to strip a little bit more. That's good. Now where'd I just put my screwdriver? See? And we're going to go just above that. That way your circuits are together. Now if you're doing a sub panel, you can't do that, obviously. Okay. I can't tell you how many big 200 amp service panels I've been in, or 400 amp 208 panels, where everything is everywhere and I needed to pull an entire circuit out. It's frustrating. Then it was all THHN, so everything is intertwined, woven together, and a fully loaded 400 amp 208 panel. So now it's easily accessible. Okay. The Hall outlet is going to be my first breaker, right? So where do we put these neutrals and grounds? Yep. Bottom two. Alright, so let me grab a breaker. Got a 20 amp Siemens breaker, a number 12 wire, and these are outlets in the Hall. So, 2 duplex receptacles. I am good for a 20 amp circuit. Okay, now we're going to put the breaker in. They just snap right in. Siemens are pretty convenient. Now I'm going to take this label, take this wire, bring it straight back. Go right about to, not right in the corner. For the hots, I like to have them a little past the middle. That way, you know, if you're feeding for a ground or a neutral, alright, you're not really risking too much if you drop the wire. Or if it falls into a breaker, obviously that's something different. But here, if you have to service this, I want to be able to have, you know, full grip on it. Or I want to be able to do this and pull it out of the breaker, room to pull it back. Okay? So, we're going to come back. I'm going to bring the wire out. And then, where my hook was, it's going to look just like that. Strip it. It's a number 2 Robertson. I'm going to leave the label on it. Okay. Some people would have them up here. Normally, that's probably what you'd want to do. It's a small panel. There just isn't that much room. Okay, now. Lighting for the hall. I want that one to go underneath because it is the same room. You can do this however you want to. I'm just telling you the way I like to do it based on the many years I have been in this field. And what makes it easier for me to add circuits in the future, troubleshoot circuits in the future. If something might happen, I might make a mistake, something might happen, but if I do them uniformed and cookie cuttered every time, I will know exactly how to figure out my own mistakes. Strippers are up here. Okay. So, we're going to cut and strip. Number 2 square. My label is still on. And we're pretty neat. It's not going to be perfect. Perfect panels are for panel builders. There's no reason why it should take 2 hours to build this kind of a panel, this small of a panel. Okay, we're cut in. That's all there is to it. I don't think I forgot anything. No, I didn't forget anything. Shit. So, that's how you cut in a panel. Next, what we're going to do is, we're going to do the finish. So, switch and 2 outlets. I'm going to do each outlet, well, I already did it. That was part of the dressing out the boxes. So, thanks for hanging out, guys. If you liked the video, if it helped you at all, like and subscribe. If not, dislike it, because evidently that's what people do these days. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.